We start the program in Mali, where the country is holding a second round of presidential elections. Voting is underway in the West African country amid severe security fears. Several polling stations are not able to operate, and there are concerns that the voter turnout will be low. Incumbent President Ibrahim Boubacar Keita is facing off against opposition leader Soumaila Cisse. Ahead of the vote, the opposition leader called on candidates from the first round of voting to back him, but two top candidates have refused. That's put into question Cisse's chances of taking this election. Keita, though, expressed confidence that he will win, even amid opposition accusations of voter irregularities in the first round. Well, meanwhile, opposition supporters took to the streets of Mali's capital, Bamako, on the eve of the election. They've been calling on voters to stay vigilant for possible irregularities. The opposition maintains there was widespread ballot stuffing and parallel electoral lists in the first round of voting. Soumaila Cisse got through to the second round with just over 17%, compared to Boubacar Keita's 41%. The incumbent leader is the current favorite to win the second round. Well, let's get to the very latest now on the voting in Mali. I'm joined live from the capital, Bamako, by CGTN's Penina Karibe. Penina, how has the voting gone so far? And from what you've seen, how's the turnout looking?
Well, Lindy, polls opened about 2 hours ago, and so far there's been very little activity. The president, Boubacar Keita, voted just about 20 minutes ago. That's just like the major activity we've seen at this particular polling station where we are, which is where he voted. You can see behind me, Lindy, this is the entrance where people come in. There is security there, but very little activity. Now, we woke up to a very cold and rainy day here in Bamako. That, of course, could play a big factor in the turnout today. There is optimism from the observers we've spoken to, saying that they're optimistic the numbers are going to turn up as the day progresses. But as of now, Lindy, very little activity in the polling stations we visited this morning.
And Penina, of course, we know that there have been opposition protests just on the eve of the election, and that comes as Soumaila Cisse's chances to win took a hit. What can you tell us about that?
There was a protest march organized in Bamako yesterday, Lindy. Just a handful of people turned up. This, of course, was organized by the opposition as a way of protesting against what the opposition has continuously said is a plan by the government to rig this election. Now, that didn't really have such a big impact. The numbers were not that high. But also, Lindy, adding on to security concerns that you've mentioned, we did hear security officials here saying they arrested 3 people from what they're calling a commando cell. They say they had planned to attack the capital. They didn't go into specifics of that, specifics of even the kind of ammunition they had, only saying that they did arrest them and they had ammunition. And these were people with a track record as far as the security officials are concerned. They were involved in a robbery back in 2016, and they said that they didn't quite manage to carry through with those plans. So that's one report we have so far of a failed attack, but also the government coming out very strongly to say they've boosted security all across the country. Last election, that's just the first round of voting, there were about 30,000 security officers deployed across the country. Now the government saying they've hiked up that number by 6,000. So we're talking about 36,000 security officials deployed across the country. But still, Lindy, a lot of concerns that even with that security, people in some areas such as Mopti and the northern areas of the country may not vote. These were areas we understand the Electoral Commission was not able to distribute polling materials. So a lot of security concerns, much as the government is assuring people that security is indeed taken care of.
Well, on that note, Penina, what does that do for the validity of this vote? As you mentioned, some polling stations will not be operational, and added to that, a very low voter turnout.
Well, it's a big concern to analysts and observers that we've spoken to, that there actually is a loophole for the opposition to say this was not a credible process because everybody didn't take part in it. Remember, this is what the opposition was talking about before the polls even started, saying that there is a lot of irregularities, that security is a big concern, that everybody should be a part of this process. But so far, we seem to see a loophole here for the opposition to do so. Now, the Constitution, as far as we are told by analysts here, is actually quiet on such areas that do not partake in this process. Will they be provided for a different day or to vote? It's quiet on that. And so, Lindy, we are starting to see a situation where these polls could actually be contested. The president actually, in his last campaign rally on Friday, touched on it, saying that there are people, he was referring to the opposition, saying they already have announced they will not accept the results of this election. And I guess that's a big indicator of just what we can expect to see once the polls close at 6 p.m. local time, Lindy.
Indeed. Well, thank you so much for that update. Penina Karibe joining us there live from Bamako.